Okay, Reish Nun Aleph. So the title is Sheloi Lasas Melacha B'Erev Shabbos Min HaMincha L'Mala. Not to work, to do work on Erev Shabbos Min HaMincha L'Mala. Says the Mechaber. Ha'oiseh Melacha B'Erev Shabbos Min HaMincha L'Mala. Someone who does work on Erev Shabbos from Mincha time onwards, Ein L'Roesim Bracha. He won't see any bracha from that work. Yesh Mefarshim Mincha Gedola v'yesh Mefarshim Mincha Ketana. Mincha Gedola is half an hour after Chatzos. Mincha Ketana is later, is 3.5 hours after Chatzos. So on a 6 to 6 day, of course we're talking Shaz Manias, then Mincha Gedola will be 12:30 and Mincha Ketana will be 3:30. So the debate which one it refers to. V'davka k'she'oisa ha'melacha derech keva. But what sort of work are we talking about? If it's derech keva. Avanim oisa derech ara. It's sort of just derech agav, they explain in the footnotes. It's just by the way, then lefi sha'ah lo kava aleha shari. That's certainly okay. V'lochein mutar lichta v'ger shleimim v'chol kiyetz v'zeh. Therefore it's a pen and letter that would be in order Erev Shabbos. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you've got an aleph, ha'isa melacha. Now, what we're talking about, more sort of classic melacha, but prakmatya shari, but trading, selling and buying and things like that, that's fine. Nevertheless, shops, although prakmatya is mutter, selling merchandise is okay, but the zman of closing the shops is before the zman of adlokas neiris. V'ayim be'halacha b'siman reish nun vav Mishnah Berurah sifkat and aleph. So if you look at footnotes number 1 and 2, number 1 says chanush adayin pesucha la'achazman shetzorech choya hamoichel l'segeres. It's if a shop is open after the zman of hadloka. Now we're not talking about chil Shabbos. We're talking about before shkia, but after the zman hadloka. So it's a small window, but the shop is still open. Histapik agonim nisim kareletz ha'im yesh isa liknos ba. Right, so it's Erev Shabbos. It's let's say the zman hadlok is 5:30. Let's say shkia is at 10 to 6. Let's say. So it's now 5:35, and you think, oh my gosh, you haven't got grape juice, you haven't got milk, and you run to the store. Can you go to a store which is open after the zman hadloka but before shkia? So he says he's mesupik v'haisiv shemekamakom also liknos ba. Because maybe you're being Messiah Vavera because they're going beyond the time. You know, they're very good. Sometimes you go to the local shops, K's or wherever, and you say, listen, I'm out of this, and they'll run to the store, they'll open it for you, they'll open the shutters a little bit, and you run and you get it. That's okay, that's fine. But to open it fully, like it's open during the week, that's the problem. Footnote 2, Shom Kosov she Bali Melacha Yaspikum Yafsikum Melachtom Shatayim v'chetzi kodim tzeitzak kechavim. When should you actually close the shop? So the Mishnah Berurah says 2.5 hours before Seis, which is basically the time of Mincha Ketana, like I just said, 3:30 if you like on a 6 to 6 day. V'hu kashav v'reva kodim shkia tzachama, which is effectively an hour and a quarter before shkia. But the gabi zman shkia tzachama is Erev Shabbos Kosov Shom the Magen Avram. About an hour before Shabbos, which in the Shatzian explains the kavon in the Shah Kodim Shkia, Shu Be'erech, the time of Mincha Ketana. An hour before Shkia is basically an hour at the time of Mincha Ketana. Okay. V'haisif Mishnah Berurah, the bottom paragraph, sheskiras hachanus be'ichur, if you're closing the shops late, goremes gam michshul l'noshim, shegidish keshechuzim, because they go shopping, but then when they get back, there's a bunch of things they got to do. L'israchis for little bit, they got to get ready, they got to get dressed, they got to light candles, and therefore, if they get back very late, then it could chas v'shalom cause chil Shabbos. Okay, back to Mishnah Berurah, siman bracha. So a person who works late on Friday afternoon, he's not going to see a siman bracha, may oisa melacha from that work. You may think you're going to earn money in this area, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take it away in another area. Mincha Gedola, so there's a machlekes, does it mean Mincha Gedola, Mincha Ketana? Mincha Gedola hainu b'sheish mechza, 6.5 hours into the day, half an hour after Chatzai. So Mincha Ketana hainu teisha mechza, like I said. V'asoymech al hamekilin lo hifsid. If you want to bring later, that's lo hifsid. V'ashos hem zmanius. When you are doing it yourself, but if you've got a worker, he can go later. We're talking about you yourself. And that's, we're talking about those sorts of activities. But we said derech harai, hainu afilu b'schar is sort of that would be okay. Okay, let's do Sif Beis. The sakin begodov v'kelev l'tzorech Shabbos mutzah kol hayom. If it involves Shabbos preparations, you've got to fix up your clothes. L'tzorech Shabbos, that's okay all day. V'huadin bigdei chavero, your friend's clothes, l'tzorech Shabbos. Ve'ena noitel alov schar, you're not getting schar for it. V'huadin l'misha kosef sfarim la'as b'derech limuda, you're making notes, you're writing things. That would be okay. And the footnotes he brings, the Chazon Ish would often write letters on Erev Shabbos. Avol also lichtov l'chavero b'schar, but not to get paid for that work. You can take a haircut the whole day. I feel mispar Yisrael, even from a Jewish barber. So to sort of do a slightly less learning so that you can help prepare for Shabbos. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Hey, you shouldn't get schar. If, however, the person is poor, he hasn't got what to eat, shari. Or even, they say in the footnote, even to pay back loans so that you borrowed so that you have what to eat. That would be allowed in Erev Shabbos. You want something a bit more than bread. You want some meat and some wine, bossav, a dog and fish, or mashkim tovim. Gam kein yeshlema deshari, that would be okay. Avol belav hoch yesh lizoy bezemoid. Ki mashma kama poiskim milvad ein royasim and bracha yesh chashas issa bezeh. Aside from just not getting a bracha, there could be something. There could be a surim involved. Lichtev lechaver b'schar. You shouldn't be paid to write. Lochein yizoy gam hakesef stam sefer Torah mezuzos shelo yihtev b'schar. Unless it's pressing, you need it now for Shabbos. Or whatever, tefillin is pressing, or you need it Sunday morning, when's he going to do it? All the guy needs the money for Shabbos. Misapar Yisrael from a Jewish barber, even if you're paying him for it. And the reason is the near lakol shows some tzarech Shabbos, because clearly this haircut is the covered Shabbos for lochein shari. And it's not the same as fixing clothes, which is also benetilas schar. Because there it's not clear that you're doing it the tzarech Shabbos. Mashen kein a haircut, it's clear you're doing it for Shabbos, and therefore you can get paid for that. Mashen kein pezeh, as opposed to a tailor, it's not necessarily clear that you're doing the work for Shabbos. And therefore you shouldn't give a haircut to a non-Jewish person, because therefore you've got the covered Shabbos where you're getting paid, therefore the covered Shabbos is not clear. He wouldn't shave or take a haircut or whatever on Erev Shabbos after Mincha time. And the kavana is the mashekosvav mincha hainu acha shehegiz man mincha. Not pshat he daven mincha, but even after the zman of mincha he wouldn't do that. Wouldn't take a haircut. Avalo marish is bala mincha, but not that he actually davened. V'hainu to ka'oma afilu b'erev Shabbos to rotzolem lo meboya b'chol kodim shis bala mincha. Not only during the week you shouldn't do these things. And afilu tzarech Shabbos shu mitzvah. Even the tzarech Shabbos, when there's different criteria, which is a mitzvah of not working on Erev Shabbos, he wouldn't take a haircut after that time. Nowadays, we've spoken about this before, that you can get a haircut at Erev Shabbos because we're not worried Shemi and Moshech, because there's a Zman, everyone knows shuls at 7:15 or whatever time, so therefore we're not worried Shemi and Moshech. Okay, Ches, Yesh la'adam lemayt k'tzas b'limudai. Lochein, says Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Ches, ein koven yeshiva be'ezim mekoymes be'erev Shabbos. You don't fix learning programs on Erev Shabbos because if it might interfere with Shabbos preparations. If he learns something, a portion, sort of a quota every day, daf yomi, dirshim Mishnah Berurah, whatever it is, don't be mevatel it. So Pirish Rashi ala sidra mikri davar sheish lekitzba. Learning Chumash Rashi Erev Shabbos is davar sheish lekitzba, and therefore falkein lo gazrin shemi yimashech ad halayla, because there is a limited text. V'im lo yimtza achakach liknes azay lo yikba halimud baboiker. And if you then you might not make it tomorrow. So just if you can learn now, then don't be mevatel the seder. V'ayin le'el b'simin reish nun zorei she'erichnu b'zeh b'bihalacha. Okay, kadesh yachin. V'im yesh le misharesh yachin b'shvilei ein tzarech. But if you've got others who are going to help out, then you don't need to reduce your learning program. For koshkenim heichem b'yom hachamishin. Certainly, if you prepared on Thursday, then you don't need to reduce your learning on Friday afternoon. bevada yuchel limud b'kedarkei. Miu mikol makom tzorich l'saken ezedova l'kavod Shabbos. Afili yesh lekam avodim k'mei shekasavnu siman reish nun. So just two interesting ha'aras, 16 and 17. V'haisif hakaf hachaim b'shem ha'shiarik nesagdoila. She'nochen l'tzavos ha'mashor she'yochin avura yatzorich ha'Shabbos kadei sheyuchel l'Shabbos l'ilmud. On the contrary, if you can and you have got help at home that you can therefore learn in Erev Shabbos, that's a wonderful thing. Like we said previously, that doesn't take away from your responsibility to do something for Shabbos. But if says the Kaf HaChaim that if you can get others to do it, then much better for you to learn and come into Shabbos like that. 17. Although he says preparing on Thursday is a good thing, we said ideally to prepare on Friday, like we said yesterday, because then it's more evident that you're doing it l'kavod Shabbos, unless it's something which needs a lot of preparation. If you're baking challah, better to bake it on Friday than on Thursday. I think it could be this week's parasha, no? Yossi, is it this week's parasha? The Mon? That's in Mishalach. Yeah. Shemash M'sheish Nefes B'Erev Shabbos L'Kavod Shabbos. Ava Ba'avi Shabbos Saktorim, but on a short winter Friday, it's Kosev Le'el, Shekom Mashiach L'Hagdim L'Asas Achona B'Yom Chamishi, Harizeh Odif. Then on a short Friday, the more you prepare on Thursday is better. Just one closing thought, that they say that Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky would often say that the days in the early days in the 1900s in America, the challenge was Shabbos, keeping Shabbos. That was, they came over from Europe, and if you didn't come back to work tomorrow, then don't come back on Monday morning, and that was always the challenge. He says the challenge nowadays is not Shabbos, but is Erev Shabbos. That everyone rushes into Shabbos, and that's that's not the way. It's ain't a dome. If someone can take the entire Erev Shabbos and sit there and prepare and walk into Shabbos, having done all his hachonas for Shabbos, and sit and learn Erev Shabbos, then certainly that's a very worthy way to enter Shabbos. Okay, wishing everyone a regular Shabbos.